这金之本源法则，
迟早它是会分裂崩塌的。
已经笼罩整个千宝河。
但
是东侯王，他怎么到山腰来了？
混沌城
破之故，成就不朽。
城主给你的可是尊者规格的待遇。
竟然变得这么急躁。
徒有虚名，纯靠运气。看来东侯王也是
几分高下，灭绝生死。
Hello everyone, welcome to the Rasta channel. Here, I will share spoilers for SwallowedStar episode 210. Remember, this is based on the novel, so it won't be 100% similar to the Donghua version. Okay, without further ado, let's dive right into the story. After soaking up a massive amount of energy with his remote ocean body for a month, Luofeng's bloody sea finally hit a crazy diameter of 6 billion miles, surpassing the size of the seas owned by the princes in the 9 remoteness world. Thanks to his life gene level reaching 10,081 times, the size of this ocean totally smashed the records of princes from other races. With this epic achievement, his remote ocean body stood tall on the red waves, ready to head to the next power level. Once he felt his grasp on the gold law was perfect, Luofeng threw a fancy banquet with his servants, like King Tianzhen and King Heavy Arrow. He was super confident that breaking through to Immortal would be a walk in the park since his skills were already on par with an Immortal king. All his subordinates congratulated him, sure that their master was about to smash his core shackles for good. Luofeng started meditating, syncing his consciousness with the ocean of gold laws until the origin pearl inside him morphed to look like his human form. He unleashed the third peak technique of the star diagram, star and fire soaring sky, to slam against his internal world walls with full power. This attack, carrying the beast god concept, was aimed right at shattering the core shell so he could fully evolve. Even though that giant fireball smashed the core wall over and over with enough force to shake the universe, the wall magically healed itself every single time. Any cracks that appeared just vanished instantly, as if Luofeng's destructive power just wasn't enough to punch through. Luofeng ended up frozen in the darkness, realizing his hard work for this big breakthrough had ended in total failure. This failure made Luofeng realize that having a foundation that was too perfect actually created core shackles that were impossible to break by normal standards. Achieving an internal world of 600 billion miles turned out to be a double-edged sword, trapping him at the World Master level indefinitely. Now he had to sit back and figure out a new way, since even power at the invincible Immortal level wasn't enough to break him free. Luofeng was confused and pretty crushed about failing his breakthrough to Immortal Warrior. But he refused to give up, realizing the only way to smash those super strong core shackles was to create an ultimate technique. With burning determination, Luofeng swore to keep sharpening his power until he could overcome those impossible limits. Spending 3,000 years meditating in the virtual universe, Luofeng focused on perfecting the star diagram until he finally nailed his first ultimate technique, hit the light racing star. This move used 1,600 sealed star balls to form a deadly beast god tail that could wipe out Immortal King level enemies in the blink of an eye. The primal Chaos City leader was a bit puzzled why his student was delaying the Immortal level to chase an ultimate technique, but he eventually supported Luofeng's insane patience. The grind continued for another 8,000 years, where Luofeng faced thousands of tough opponents to perfect a second, much harder technique. He deployed 5,200 sealed star balls to form a massive beast god, shaped 1,800 miles long, capable of splitting space and time like a star explosion, destroying everything in its path. The technique, splendid like stars, was born, and Luofeng's combat power as a world master had officially reached a level that didn't make sense for any race. Moving on to the third technique, Luofeng started hitting a wall, even with vision help from his Mosha body and Golden Horned Beast. He spent 20,000 years trying to bash through the core wall with imperfect techniques, but those mysterious shackles stood firm without a scratch. The pressure started messing with his peace of mind, fueled by rumors spreading outside about Blade River King disappearing from the cosmic stage. Realizing that the pressure of 30,000 years of isolation had made him impatient, Luofeng decided to pause his meditation to clear his head. He felt that forcing it while stressed would just waste millions of years with no guarantee of breaking the core fetters. Finally, he made a big decision to take a chill trip across the galaxy to refresh his soul and find new inspiration to perfect his third ultimate technique. Luofeng wandered the universe in his Mosha body, checking out wonders from platinum planets to black holes that almost ate him. This 50,000-year journey totally changed his perspective as he started appreciating the beauty of different cultures and drawing inspiration from natural laws like star growth and flowing rivers. By splitting his mental focus, he managed to sync his mental state with the frequency of the universe, making his understanding of combat techniques evolve way more efficiently than just sitting still and meditating. On his adventures, Luofeng saw the stark contrast between the super-united crystal race and the prison race, who let their lower races slaughter each other to breed strong fighters. He stopped at a planet facing mass extinction by troops led by Yutuawa, an immortal fighter serving the Shadow Lord. Amidst the chaos, he saw a race called the Taikei fighting desperately against a brutal invasion that gave them zero chance to escape into space. Despair hit the Taikei people when Yutuawa personally stepped in to hunt down a talented young guy named Pa Na, their symbol of hope. Watching from afar, Luofeng was moved by the look of sacrifice in Pa Na's eyes. It reminded him so much of the courage his comrades on Earth showed when fighting the Golden Horn Beast back in the day. Even though he initially just wanted to watch, a surge of emotion and old memories pushed Luofeng to give one last hand to the kid staring death in the face. Just as Yutuawa was about to take Pa Na's life, the sky filled with a deadly drizzle that was actually a manifestation of Luofeng's high-level sword technique. Without time to react, Yutuawa's divine body crumbled to ash along with his entire army of world masters in a single, lightning-fast attack. Pa Na could only stand there stunned, watching the mysterious glowing figure who saved him vanish after sheathing his sword, leaving behind a now silent battlefield. That brief rescue on the remote planet turned out to be the key for Luofeng to perfect the third move of his ultimate technique, which had been stuck for so long. Traveling the universe gave him incredible soul maturity, so he felt it was time to end his days as a tourist. With his mind made up and power far beyond normal limits, Luofeng headed back to human territory to smash his core fetters and ascend to the immortal level. Back in human territory, Luofeng met the Chaos City leader and sat cross-legged in the middle of the Thousand Treasures River prepared by his teacher. In that training, Luofeng felt a profound inner peace after finishing his tens of thousands of years of wandering. Exploring the universe had forged his mental state to the level of a universe venerable, where illusions could no longer shake his soul, now as calm as the ocean. With his spiritual maturity at its peak, he decided to end the wait and get ready for the final breakthrough to become an immortal warrior. Inside his palace, Luofeng mobilized 16,000 sealed star balls to form a super-aggressive beast god skeleton to smash the core shackles that had trapped him for so long. He unleashed the third star diagram technique, Star and Fire Soaring Sky, with full power, shaking the very foundation of his internal world. The massive attack, combining an iron will and the beast god conception honed over 80,000 years, finally crumbled the core wall into pieces. Instantly, a vortex of gold laws from the center of the universe descended, blanketing the entire Thousand Treasures River and supplying an absurd amount of immortal energy. Luofeng's original human body went through a drastic transformation, his power skyrocketing to 300 million times stronger than a regular world master. This physical strength far exceeded the average standard for universe venerables, marking the birth of a fighter with energy quality that defied logic. Luofeng's energy needs were massive, because he also had to transform his golden-horned beast body and the Bloody Sea with its 6 billion-mile diameter. Because of the ocean's insane size and his perfect life genes, the amount of immortal energy he absorbed was hundreds of millions of times more than a typical universe venerable. This phenomenon created a never-before-seen sight where pure gold energy kept pouring down endlessly to fill Luofeng's nearly bottomless power tank. This crazy event caused a stir among the servants and universe venerables, watching the sky of the Thousand Treasures River turn totally gold. Even the primal Chaos City leader stood in stunned silence, watching how greedily Luofeng devoured the universe's law energy way beyond anyone else's level-up event. With the process complete, Luofeng had officially become an immortal being with power capable of shaking the cosmic order and writing a new history for the human race. The phenomenon of the origin laws descending on the Thousand Treasures River was way more majestic than the level-ups of all 108 princes of the Nine Remoteness world combined. The primal Chaos City leader stood frozen, realizing that Luofeng's absorption of immortal energy signaled power hundreds or even thousands of times greater than his physical appearance let on. The Grand Teacher now realized his student was hiding some incredible trump cards and predicted he'd become humanity's strongest pillar, capable of making every race in the universe tremble. Inside the internal world, the storm of gold energy turned Luofeng's entire blood sea into an ocean of divine power with a 6 billion mile diameter, boasting quality above the universe venerable level. With energy reserves billions of times larger than a normal human, this remote ocean became an eternal power source, meaning Luofeng no longer had to fear even the strongest enemies. This scale of nearly infinite energy gave Luofeng the same confidence as the 9 Remoteness Master, making him an existence that was almost impossible to defeat in this universe. Back at the palace, the energy pressure from Luofeng's original human body made powerful servants like King Tianzhen and Heavy Arrow tremble in fear, bowing helplessly. Even though he was only leaking a tiny bit of his power, Luofeng's aura now far outstripped the pressure of the ordinary universe venerables around the Thousand Treasures River. He walked calmly toward his teacher's residence, letting his newly awakened immortal power blanket the whole room with a thick aura of dominance. The primal Chaos City leader gave full recognition to Luofeng's success, feeling incredibly proud that his student's power was now hard to measure even with his own senses. Luofeng confidently stated that he could now take down King Bark Mirror thanks to his immortality and the ultimate technique he perfected over tens of thousands of years. The teacher then gave Luofeng his full blessing to forge his own path, including plans to build his god country in a deep layer of space to secure his power foundation. Instead of building his god country right away, Luofeng chose to head straight for the Star Tower using his immortal slave's teleportation. He felt that with the abundant energy of the remote ocean and his drastic spike in power quality, now was the perfect time to try and fully control that treasure. His big ambition to move the Star Tower, one of the strongest treasures in the universe, was Luofeng's first step in cementing his dominance in the cosmos. Luofeng arrived at the Star Tower to test the limits of his new immortal strength. Inside the vast seal space, he summoned the remote ocean to try moving the universe's most powerful treasure. But even after burning a massive amount of divine power, he realized the Star Tower was still too heavy to move quickly without a much deeper understanding of the laws. Failing to move the Star Tower made Luofeng realize that this supreme treasure was really meant for universe masters or high-level fighters. Even though his energy quality was on par with a universe venerable overlord, he still needed the universe venerable level to resize and speed up that giant tower as he pleased. Finally, he decided to shelf that ambition for a bit and focus on the next crucial step, building the foundation of his absolute power in the universe. Luofeng returned to human territory in the Ganwu universe country to find a hidden spot for his god country, 50 million light-years from Earth. He tore through space dimensions, flying through thousands of interlayers until he reached the space flood region, a place super dangerous for regular fighters. Using his Shi-Wu wings, he maneuvered between giant space fragments trillions of kilometers in size that could wipe out an immortal king or even a universe, venerable instantly if they got hit. After searching for 2 days in the extreme depths of space, Luofeng finally found a massive space fragment nearly 4 trillion miles in diameter. This gigantic size was perfect to hold his internal world, which had reached a scale of 600 billion miles, without sacrificing dimensional stability. Wasting no time, he locked onto the fragment's coordinates with his mind to start the process of merging the world that would become his headquarters. The merging process kicked off as Luofeng's internal world emerged from the illusory dimension and started physically fusing with the giant space fragment deep in the interlayers. An intense energy explosion shook the surrounding space, blowing other fragments away as the new world reached absolute stability. With the fusion complete, Luofeng's god country was officially born as the sturdiest fortress to support his ambition of becoming the supreme ruler of the universe. Luofeng officially entered his god country, which kept expanding with abundant energy until it rivaled the power foundation of universe venerables. In the center of this new world, he built a magnificent golden ornamented palace radiating pure gold law as a symbol of absolute authority over his domain. Mental unification with his homeland gave Luofeng full control over every element of nature, from the mountains to the ocean of divine power that now merged into one unshakable protective entity. With the god country functioning as his life anchor, Luofeng now had a guarantee of immortality, since the remote ocean could instantly restore his entire combat body even if it was destroyed in battle. He split his consciousness into 3 main bodies, each carrying valuable treasures to start combat adventures without worrying about physical death anymore. The security of his headquarters, guarded tightly by an infinite ocean of energy, made him one of the hardest fighters to kill in the entire universe right now. The primal Chaos City leaders summoned Luofeng to the peak of Thunder Island to recognize his extraordinary achievements that surpassed the standards of typical immortal fighters. The teacher ordered Luofeng to build a palace on the mountainside, an exclusive zone that was usually only allowed for elites at the universe venerable level. Even though his official status was still immortal, Luofeng was now granted facilities and new territory in the virtual universe on par with the senior high-ups of the human race. While scouting a spot for his palace on the mountainside, Luofeng bumped into Venerable Nine Swords, who was confused and not exactly thrilled to see an immortal fighter in that elite neighborhood. Tension rose because the unwritten rules stated that only those who had proven real combat power earned a spot in the prestigious area of Thunder Island. Although they didn't dare argue with a direct order from the primal Chaos City leader, the look of dissatisfaction was clear on the seniors' faces. They felt Luofeng was getting privileges that were way over the top. News of Blade River King building a palace on the mountainside immediately sparked turmoil and heated debates among the universe. Venerables who felt their hierarchy had been violated. Many senior fighters thought that, without a legit combat record against a worthy enemy, recognizing Luofeng's status was just premature and baseless. Luofeng now had to brace himself for a wave of skepticism from his fellow human leaders until he could prove his power truly belonged in the ranks of the cosmic rulers. Amidst the roar of the Thunder Island waterfall, 8 universe venerables gathered to vent their anger over the primal Chaos City leader's decision to give Luofeng special rights. They felt totally insulted that a fighter who just became immortal was given the same status as veterans who had served the human race for thousands of years. Venerable Thunder even blatantly claimed that Luofeng had 0 real contributions and was just draining racial resources before proving his strength on the battlefield. Master Zhen Yan arrived and had to listen to his colleagues' bashing before finally meeting Luofeng to give him a serious warning about reputation and honor among the high-ups. He explained that for venerables who lived eternally, status and glory were everything, worth more than any treasure, because they were proof of their dedication over millions of years. Luofeng finally realized that his decision to build a palace on the mountainside had created new enemies among the seniors who felt the human hierarchy was being trampled by a rookie. Even though he understood the seniors' disappointment, Luofeng wasn't rattled. Instead, he saw this skepticism as extra motivation to show his true fangs. He told his teacher that the only way to shut down all the critics was to defeat a universe venerable in a legitimate one-on-one fight. With full faith in his new power, this peerless genius was ready to turn the insults into a living legend that no one on Thunder Island would dare question again. In another corner of the world of glory, King Bark Mirror, who had held a grudge for tens of thousands of years, started watching Luofeng's moves with pure hatred. The monster, with a life gene level 2,000 times that of normal, felt that now was the perfect time to eliminate his rival, since they were both at the same immortal level. He figured fighting Luofeng now wasn't bullying a junior anymore, but a showdown to prove who was the most dominant fighter in the entire Northern Alliance and humanity. The atmosphere in the open square of the world of glory instantly tensed up as the deadly King Bark Mirror stepped forward, pushing through the crowd of heirs from the Hongmeng Alliance faction. The arrival of this nemesis immediately grabbed the attention of 1,000 other heirs who sensed a massive conflict was about to blow up the virtual world in seconds. Luofeng just stood there calmly waiting for his opponent, realizing this was the exact stage he needed to prove his new status as a universe venerable level fighter to the public. The vibe in the World of Glory Square turned chilling when King Bark Mirror threw down a real-life deathmatch challenge to Luofeng in the secret region. Luofeng, who had just reached the Immortal level, surprisingly accepted the challenge, asserting he wouldn't back down from any immortal fighter in the universe. This bold statement instantly triggered a massive uproar among the millions of heirs from various races witnessing the historic moment live. News of the death duel between Blade River King and King Bark Mirror spread like lightning across the universe, becoming the spotlight for various peak races. Many human leaders and universe venerables thought Luofeng was too arrogant for daring to face a special life form with combat power equal to a universe venerable. Despite being mocked and predicted to lose his treasures foolishly, Luofeng stayed cool and completely unshaken by all the negative opinions from the outside world. King Bark Mirror was a very real threat, with a life gene level 2,000 times higher than normal, something that had cornered Luofeng in the past. But Luofeng had morphed into something much stronger, prepared after tens of thousands of years of meditation and deep spiritual wandering. This fight wasn't just about a personal grudge. It was a major test of whether pure human talent could surpass the natural limits held by high-level races in the universe. For Luofeng, this challenge was a golden opportunity to silence the critics who doubted his right to the prestigious spot on the Thunder Island mountainside. He was well aware that true honor could only be earned through a decisive victory on a high-stakes battlefield, not just by relying on the primal Chaos City leader's protection. His confidence was so high that he casually ordered his slaves to prep a victory celebration feast before he even stepped foot in the deadly arena. After finalizing all his preparations and strategy, Luofeng left Bohemia Island and teleported to the battle coordinates in the ancestral god's secret region. The eyes of every leader in the universe were now fixed on this epic duel to see if Blade River King would create a new legend or fall to the bloodthirsty monster. Luofeng's calm walk to the battlefield marked the start of a new chapter in immortal fighter history that would shake the cosmic power structure forever. Overconfident, King Bark Mirror started a live stream to the whole universe via the virtual network to humiliate Luofeng in front of millions of heirs. The fight broke out amidst floating mountain debris, where Luofeng finally revealed his true strength, which was on par with high-level unique lifeforms after reaching the immortal level. The entire audience was shocked to see Luofeng start burning his divine power, radiating incredible pressure at the universe. Venerable Level. Luofeng immediately deployed the star map, consisting of 520 miniature stars, to create a small black hole surrounding the battlefield. He unleashed his second ultimate move. Splendid like stars, a super-fast slash of red light meant to tear right through the defenses of King Bark Mirror. The Beast God Tail attack slammed into the opponent's chest, destroying 6% of his divine body in a single hit, proving that Luofeng's technique and skills had reached a terrifying level. Although King Bark Mirror had a massive divine body, he didn't realize Luofeng was carrying his remote ocean body, which kept supplying unlimited divine power from inside a world ring. Every Beast God attack consistently destroyed a percentage of the opponent's divine body, while Luofeng's physical condition stayed stable at 100%. King Bark Mirror started to panic and felt incredibly frustrated because his attacks weren't working, while his divine body kept getting whittled down to a critical limit by the relentless slashes of the star diagram weapon. After losing most of his life energy and realizing there was no hope of winning, King Bark Mirror went mad with rage and chose to self-destruct. The massive explosion wiped out space dimensions for tens of millions of miles as the monster tried one last-ditch effort to drag Luofeng into destruction with him. However, Luofeng, with his extraordinary protection, managed to survive the deadly shockwave, while his opponent's physical body was now gone from the universe forever. Right after the dust settled, Feng, a universe venerable from the Northern Territory Alliance, suddenly showed up to snatch the treasures left by his late subordinate. He tried to intimidate Luofeng with the excuse of retrieving Alliance assets, but Luofeng firmly refused and immediately secured all the war loot. Moving like lightning, Luofeng ordered his 520 star diagram stars to grab Bark Mirror's world ring, armor, and weapons before the Venerable could act. Luofeng managed to secure the treasures of King Bark Mirror into his world ring before Feng could reach them. Venerable Feng felt deeply insulted and accused Luofeng of being greedy, but the human youth just fired back that strength is the only law that matters in the universe. Tension peaked when Venerable Feng realized Luofeng had absolutely no intention of handing over his victory trophy, even when threatened by a feared ruler of the Northern Alliance. Venerable Feng immediately unleashed a high-level soul technique, a universe master-level move to wipe out Luofeng's life signature in the blink of an eye. Luckily for Luofeng, he had the Tower Pearl, a soul-protecting treasure that dampened the deadly attack, so his soul remained intact without a scratch. Luofeng's success in withstanding the attack shocked Feng, who didn't expect an immortal fighter to have such an insanely strong soul defense treasure. Meanwhile, Luofeng kept speeding through space cracks, maintaining distance from Feng's pursuit. The chase heated up when Venerable Feng activated the Time Law domain, trapping Luofeng in an environment where time flow went haywire. He unleashed the wind annihilation technique miniature tornadoes that eroded 60% of Luofeng's divine body in one painful combo. But miraculously, Luofeng restored his physical condition back to 100% instantly thanks to the infinite energy supply from the remote ocean body hidden in his world ring. Realizing Luofeng brought a cloned body into battle, venerable Feng decided to ditch any mercy and vowed to destroy every clone to get the true treasures. He breathed out 2 black wind vortexes shaped like small dragons that obliterated any space fragments they touched on their way to the target. This attack carried a thick killing intent, making Luofeng feel a threat of death much more real than any previous attacks. 2 black wind vortexes shaped like small dragons shot out from Feng's technique, blasting through every space fragment in their path toward Luofeng. Luofeng felt a very real threat of death, since this attack contained destructive essence capable of penetrating his Shi Wu Wing defense in an instant. The power gap between a new immortal and a universe venerable overlord who had reached a perfect level began to look stark in the emptiness of space. In this critical situation, Luofeng had to find an extreme way to survive the deadliest attack he had ever faced. Luofeng realized Feng's 2 black wind vortexes were the most terrifying death threat he'd ever faced, with power enough to wipe out his life signature instantly. Trapped in the suffocating domain of time law, he decided against using the ancient boat galaxy, or Mosha body, instead playing his most extreme final card. The giant figure of the remote ocean body was finally summoned to block the assault with its absurd physical defense. The appearance of the giant body, standing 5,000 miles tall, immediately shook the stability of the time domain and made Feng tremble at the sight of a creature nearly the size of planet Earth. The remote ocean body immediately burned its divine power massively to swallow the 2 black wind vortexes until the destructive attack was worn down by the sheer volume of divine energy. Although the attack wiped out 9% of his giant body's mass, Luofeng stood firm thanks to his nearly limitless energy reserves. Without giving his opponent a chance to react, Luofeng immediately ordered his remote ocean body to self-destruct in front of venerable Feng. The massive explosion wiped out space dimensions for 600,000 miles, unleashing destructive power no fighter could imagine. As a result, Feng, trapped at the center of the blast, lost 20% of his divine body even though he used his true treasure armor. Just as the dust settled, venerable Feng, a god general candidate from the human race, arrived just in time to protect Luofeng from the enemy's continued rage. The presence of this universe. Venerable Overlord completely flipped the situation because Feng, already badly injured, no longer had the advantage to win against an opponent of the same level. Feng sternly warned Feng that backup from the human race would arrive soon if he insisted on fighting over Luofeng's war loot. Feng finally chose to retreat with deep resentment, admitting he had underestimated the ruthlessness and massive potential of Blade River King. On the other hand, Luofeng remained calm, aware that his remote ocean in the God Country could quickly restore the exploded body without depleting many resources. The battle officially ended with a total victory for Luofeng, who had now proven he was capable of injuring a universe venerable. So what happens next? Let's wait and see in the next video, guys. Okay, thank you for watching until the end, and don't forget to support this channel with likes, subscribe, and comments. That's all from me. Bye.
长久不朽，
盟主给你的可是尊者规格的待遇啊！
竟然变得这么起早。
徒有虚名，纯靠运气。来，刀锋王，你是
几分高下，灭绝生死。